So it's a unique thing whenever we have the celebration of All Saints' Day that is specifically the churches to just the night before we have the Halloween celebrations that feels markedly different, shall we say. I don't know about you, maybe you were dealing with kids trying to go to bed after going on a sugar high from going trick-or-treating. You may have had grandchildren that came back from that while you were handing out candy to some others. Perhaps you might have been at home with your lights off for various reasons, just wanting to have a quiet evening. But for hundreds of years before jack-o'-lanterns and candy corn, Christians around the world have remembered the dead, the saints, the cloud of witnesses that have gone before us. And we forget often that even Halloween, that feels like such a secular celebration in some ways, it comes from the very same root as hallowed or halo, meaning holy. It's a good time to remember how holy life is, especially in the midst of a pandemic, but even more in those times where we hold grief. You hold it, I hold it, for loved ones that you have watched cross over from life to death, even in recent days. Liturgical Christians around the world honor All Saints' Day by reciting the names of holy saints of God throughout the centuries. To some, it may seem just like a name on a grave or a name on a list, but they proclaim and convey so much more to us. We don't need to make ourselves really think about these people. It's almost like muscle memory for many of us. It kind of trips that memory just sometimes by paying attention to the world around you, smelling the stained wood in a church where your loved ones sat Sunday after Sunday for decades, smelling that scent that can only come from a hospital where they took their last breath. Maybe for you, it's the smell of peppermint or pipe tobacco that still is on the coat of your grandfather or a brother that you loved dearly. Maybe it's seeing the coffee stains from times where a loved one was reading the Bible every morning for their devotions. Maybe it was the smell of hairspray and anti-aging cream when you laid with your mom or your grandma or your wife for the last time as they slipped away into the mystery. Whatever it is, these memories, these triggers, and so many others help us remember the ones we cherish most. This is the first year where I have had the privilege of coming to know those saints that we have named just now. And I had the gift of being able to preside over a couple of those funerals and have a phone conversation with one, a distance meeting with another. But many of the ways that I am able to know these lights that shine still so brightly for us is through your stories, through the truths that you have told about these beautiful women and men. And so there were many that lived legacies in all sorts of ways. We could talk all day about them, but I again just name them in another way that rounds out who they are and the legacy they have left. There were those that were fixtures in the work of the church, the matriarch of a multi-generational family at university being Evelyn Horton. And we remember today Barbara Kavanaugh's servant heart. We remember the strong leadership that was provided by David Holliday, and that, I'm told, a prankster, Gary Bertner, who would just come down the aisle, and anybody that he could find, he'd just say, "I love you. I love you." Those that held the candle for us in the life of learning, helping us to remember that seeking the truth and living with the goodwill for all in our hearts was so important. Teachers and those that worked in academics and school community groups in all sorts of ways, Bob Mueller and Henrietta Jones and Norma Garner and Noel Hammett. And then those, among all of their accomplishments, who modeled among us the profound witness of what it is to be kind. Kathleen Arsenault and Orrin Ritter. And then what it takes to pursue justice with everything that you have, like Rosemary Bickford. All Saints' Day is about the fine line that we find between heaven and earth. It is about the church triumphant, comprising of those who are in heaven, those that we never truly lose love or relationship with, no matter how many years pass. And then it is about the church militant, of those Christians who on earth are still living. They say it's the Christian militia, those that are still fighting the good fight, who struggle against sin and the spiritual forces of wickedness in this world. The dead we remember today, each in their own unique way, how they lived generously among us. And in the midst of that generosity, God met them with the abundance promised to every generation, even in seemingly impossible seasons of their life. I love how James puts it here. Anyone who meets a testing challenge head on and manages to stick it out is mighty fortunate, the Message version says. For such persons loyally in love with God, the reward is life and more life in all of its different forms. Gregory the Great said once, "Be not anxious about what you have, but about what you are." And we are a people that have a chance today to do something that will change lives through the generosity that we continue to live before we meet our Maker. So today, it may seem like an ominous thing to glorify death, but instead it is really an act of hope what we are doing in worship today, no matter where you are. It is a time this weekend where we can and do celebrate life, remembering the lives of our loved ones and the ways that they are heroes for us in the faith. We know because of the work of Jesus on the cross that the dead truly can rise again, and in that the death, even though it continues to live with us in all sorts of stages of grief, it has lost its sting. The dead can and do inspire us to truly live. As we approach the table today, a place where truly it is a thin place where heaven and earth meet. A place where the real presence of Christ resides for us with whatever we need. Let us be sure to remember how holy life is. Every year, every single day, every moment that has been given to us. Embrace those you love. Count all of the things that we have to be thankful for, and stand up and be counted as those who are committing once again, or maybe for the first time, to live a legacy that continues the faithful work of those that have gone before. Friends, sisters, and brothers, this is our time. Amen.